As Americans take one step forward in the battle against COVID mask mandates, some parts of the country insist on taking two steps back. Los Angeles County is once again requiring people to mask up when aboard public transit or in indoor transportation hubs such as airports because of science or something. Meanwhile, the lab coat tyrant Dr. Fauci says Biden's CDC should be above federal courts, slamming the judge who struck down the policy to force mask wearing on trains and planes. Friends, it is time for Hold the Line.
Both surprised and disappointed because those types of things really are the purview of the CDC. This is a public health issue. And for a court to come in, and if you look at the rationale for that, it really is not particularly firm. And we are concerned about that, about courts getting involved in things that are unequivocally public health decisions. I mean, this is a CDC issue. It should not have been a court issue.
Welcome to Hold the Line. I'm Buck Sexton. Fauci's apparently a constitutional law scholar now, or a legal scholar of any note, or knows even the most basic things about how our system works, because that was fascinating. It just goes to show you how ill-informed and generally ignorant this man is, who so many libs, so many leftists decided, Democrats, that he was the great hero of our pandemic because he went around making predictions that were wrong, telling everybody to just keep on masking and doing the stuff that does not work. He kept saying it does work because didn't want to admit that everything he made us do was actually worthless, and in fact worse than worthless because it just made things worse. It just made lockdowns happen and mask mandates and school shutdowns and church shutdowns and restaurants at half capacity, 25% capacity. All of that lunacy was pushed by this evil little smurf, this awful bureaucrat known as Dr. Anthony Fauci, who really now thinks he's in a position to say courts don't get to weigh in on what the CDC, a sub-agency of the federal government under the purview of the White House, a part of the executive branch, and a relatively recent addition to it, by the way, somehow they don't have to have review by the courts? Is this guy out of his mind? No, he's actually just a tyrant. He really is. He believes that he should be able to, for the rest of our lives, by the way, have the CDC just tell us, oh, we're worried, mask up, shut down your business. But hold on a second. What does the data actually tell us about any of that? Notice how they never point to, if they had the data, you would hear about it. If they had the data, you would know about it. It doesn't exist. They were wrong about everything. But libs are crazy. They've got a mental illness known as being leftists, Democrats, Fauci believers, all of the above. LA County public health officials, despite everything that we've seen now, 2 years of this, have issued a new COVID-19 health order effective Friday that will make masks mandatory on all public transit, including buses, trains, taxis, and ride-share services. What the hell is this supposed to do? I mean, let's just think about this for a second. People that don't even use public transit really that much in LA. Bars, restaurants, offices, schools, everywhere else, no mask. But public transit, you got to mask up. Why? Because people are scared. They wouldn't be scared if our so-called health experts would come forward and tell them the truth, which is that it's more important than anything else, the mask doesn't work. What you're doing is a waste. If you're scared, the mask isn't helping you. So why are you doing this? But Fauci is such a martyr for the cause. Oh, it's so hard on little Fauci. Here he is saying he is unpopular because he has so much integrity.
I had to maintain my own integrity, as well as my responsibility to the public to tell them the truth. That clearly alienated a lot of people.
Clearly alienated a lot of people that he's so truthful. Oh, he's so honest. Such a selfless public servant. I mean, he needed to appear on those random magazine covers, In Style magazine and Vanity Fair and all these places. Because, the pandemic, man. He needed all that stuff. Sure he did. But was he right about any of this stuff? Was he actually smart on any of the major issues of the pandemic? Did he give good advice? He's the worst, folks. He was wrong about everything. So what does he do? He accuses the other side of the argument, who have been right, the whole time. He had all this power, all this influence, he got everything wrong. Here he is complaining about the normalization of lies.
We have gotten into an arena or an era of what I call the normalization of lies. So lies that were obvious 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that people would say, wow, that's crazy. You can't say that. It's like it's accepted now. So anybody can say whatever they want, completely fabrication, completely conspiracy theory, and it's okay. And it's not really okay, but people are so used to it now, it's become, as I say, and I use that terminology because I've thought about it a lot, it's the normalization of untruths.
Like what? Let's ask that question for a second. Notice, oh, they're normalizing all the lies. Okay, like what? What are one of these? That the vaccines don't stop the spread? Is that a lie, Fauci? Do you want to try that? That vaccines weren't nearly as effective as we were promised they would be because they had all the data they knew so well. One shot, maybe two shots, you'd be done. Now we're on shot 4. Are we going to be at shot 5 this fall? I just want to know, what are the lies? He never says. He just claims that there are lies and smears out there about him. Was school lockdown necessary? Was lockdown in general helpful? Are those lies? He never answers any of these questions. No one ever forces him to. How about this one? Why is vaccine approval delayed for children under 5? Watch this.
Pfizer was thinking that it was going to be a 2-dose vaccine for the children. 2-dose may have been okay in the Delta era, but Omicron, as we know as it's evolved, is clearly going to be, at least at the dose that Pfizer uses, a 3-dose virus for a vaccine. Now you have Moderna, who comes in with a bit of a higher dose, who are looking at 2 doses there. And what the FDA wants to do is to get it so that we don't confuse people, to say this is the dose regimen for children within that age group of 6 months to 5 years.
I think the bottom line is just, if Moderna is ready to apply for that EUA and we could have it in May, why can't we have it in May?
Right. And I don't have an answer to that.
Does he have an answer to why is it that they haven't been able to show any statistical significance whatsoever for children under 5 for vaccine benefit for COVID? Does he have an answer? Does anyone want to ask him? Of course. That was on CNN Plus. CNN Plus, or CNN Minus. Turns out minus actually, because it's already shut down. So sad. $300 million up in flames. And then you wonder, who could actually stop this madness with Fauci? Oh! The madness of King Biden, which we see on display all the time. This guy looked constantly confused, because he is, because it's senility and it's sad, but it's also awful that he's doing this to the country and his handlers allow this to continue. Here he is when he was asked about Title 42 yesterday, the southern border, and he started talking about the DOJ appeal on airplane mask mandates, because it's all the same in the scrambled eggs up top.
On Title 42, sir, are you considering delaying lifting Title 42?
No, what I'm considering is continuing to hear from well, first of all, there's going to be an appeal by the Justice Department, because as a matter of principle, we want to be able to be in a position where, if in fact it is strongly concluded by the scientists that we need Title 42, that we be able to do that. But there has been no decision on extending Title 42.
Doesn't even know what he's talking about. I mean, really, doesn't know, like, is not aware of what he's talking about. But he's the president, everybody. Sure, he clarified later on that, he had the scrambled eggs moment there, but yeah. All right, we'll have more on this with the host of Counterculture on the Epic Times, Danielle D'Souza Gill, in a moment. Let's talk about protecting your home. I'm a skeptical guy. When I found out that cyber thieves, could actually steal your home for all intents and purposes online, I figured that's not possible. Turns out it is. It's actually a rapidly growing crime. The FBI says it's a big problem. That's why you need Home Title Lock to protect your home's title online. Home Title Lock puts a virtual barrier around your home's title. The instant they detect anyone tampering with your home's title, they mobilize to help shut it down. So here's what I urge you to do. Number 1, go to HometitleLock.com and read the testimonials from FBI agents and government officials. And number 2, register your home address to see if you're already a victim and don't even know it. When you protect your home, tell them Buck Sexton sent you to get my listener discount. HometitleLock.com. Again, HometitleLock.com. We'll be right back with more. Hold the line. Dr. Fauci can't help himself. The attention-seeking, mandate-loving Smurf took a shot at the Florida judge who struck down the Biden administration policy that forced travelers to mask up on planes, saying she didn't know enough about health to make such a decision. This after more than 2 years of listening to him babble on about COVID mandates and restrictions that didn't work. Joining me now with reaction, Danielle D'Souza Gill, host of Counterculture. Danielle, great to see you.
Hi, Buck. Great to see you.
I think Fauci's being a sexist here. I think Fauci should, we know they're never going to get on him for that, but he's essentially saying, who is this young woman, this lady to decide that the CDC, she's a federal judge. It's kind of what she's supposed to do, I think.
Exactly. The left always wants to make everything personal, make it about, making it about the judge herself. They're all into this whole doxing thing, as we've seen recently. And so it's really not about the fact that, oh, who is this woman? What are her political views or any of that? It's about the fact that Fauci thinks that he is basically above any kind of court. He thinks that the CDC comes first because he knows that the rest of the country has moved on from COVID. We've moved on from these mask mandates. We've moved on from booster shots. But he knows that once we've moved on from that, we've also moved on from him. And so he's no longer relevant anymore, and we don't really care to hear from him anymore. So he'll probably just be, not really showing up at the White House or anything, but probably just on, networks like MSNBC, maybe become a contributor there like Jen Psaki might do.
Indeed. Or she might be at CNN. Probably not CNN Plus, because that would be tough. She'd need a time machine for that one, I think. But we also know that Fauci was often protected by the left because they said, you're not a medical expert. Listen to Dr. Fauci. This guy has been in government for literally longer than I've been alive, and has been just drawing a paycheck to go to meetings and do effectively nothing and be wrong on everything. But they would say you're not a doctor. I'm pretty sure Fauci isn't a constitutional law scholar, but here he is slamming the no experience Florida judge who said the mask mandate actually couldn't go on based on procedural grounds because of the law. Watch this.
Does the CDC, with all respect, have any power anymore if one judge can say no thanks to its mandates?
Well, that's what we're worried about, Bob. We're worried about a precedent that would be a dangerous precedent. The CDC has the capability through a large number of trained epidemiologists and scientists to be able to make projections and make recommendations, far more than a judge with no experience in public health.
Yeah, Fauci, I guess, just doesn't understand the system that he has been like a barnacle stuck to for the last 50 years, because the judge was weighing in on the law, not actually the effectiveness of masks one way or the other. It was about whether or not the CDC went through proper regulatory procedure to decide to extend for 2 weeks this mask mandate. The whole thing is just absurd.
Of course. And he's acting like this is some kind of new precedent, like, oh my goodness, this is shocking. But in fact, this is the precedent. The precedent is that the CDC is not above the law. And the only thing that might be some kind of exception is maybe sanitation. However, that the masks definitely don't apply to that. And they don't apply to epidemiology or anything that he's referring to. So nothing has really changed. He seems to have this framework that the CDC has always been above the law when, in fact, it never has.
Do you think the American people, obviously there's like 20 or 30% of Americans believe anything that they see on CNN, think that Fauci's a genius, think that they should double mask. They're saying they're going to double mask for the rest of their lives. I think that's going to last about 5 more days before they go, wow, this sucks and no one cares. And they're going to stop the virtue signaling charade. But we've seen the CDC get slapped down on the extension of the rent eviction moratorium, right? The CDC said you can't kick somebody out who's not paying rent in your house because there's a pandemic. Doing the will of left-wing Democrats with that, of course. We've seen them slap down on the vaccine mandate for large businesses. Turns out that's not really something that the CDC can do. That would have to be a congressional legislative act. And now on this one, now it's not the Supreme Court that's weighed in, but it's a federal judge. It almost is like the CDC has been overreaching and engaged in acts of tyranny, and maybe they should stop.
Of course. And even when we think about, who was the CDC even before all of this started? If you were to rewind pre-COVID and think about, well, what does the CDC say? I would have said, oh, okay, well, yeah, the CDC, they probably come out with some, recommendations and things like that every now and then. But they didn't have this, unwieldy power. No one was checking what the CDC was saying every single day. And it's been 2 years since we've been living in this whole, lockdown COVID pandemic situation. So I don't know what their goal is. I don't know if they think that this can last forever. Of course, if you watch, shows like The View, it's I'll never wear, anything that doesn't have double masking and so on. But I don't think that that's realistic for most of America. And if so, then those people can choose to do that and watch The View. But everybody else is going to continue on with their lives, including most Democrats who themselves don't even like to wear masks.
Another story we want to get your take on, Danielle, is, as we know, Florida, actually Ron DeSantis just signed the bill today. And this came after yesterday you had Democrats freaking out in the state legislature in Florida over this bill that would strip Disney of its special Reedy Creek status, which has tax implications and regulatory implications. Here's Florida GOP Representative Randy Fine on Disney and what's going on here. Watch this.
When Disney kicked the hornet's nest several weeks ago, we started taking a look at special districts, and we found that 6 of them had been created before the Florida Constitution was actually put in place. And they had all sorts of weird things in them. For example, Disney had the right to take land outside of their district. They had the right to build a nuclear power plant without state oversight. They didn't have to follow zoning laws or safety codes. People have wanted to deal with the special district for decades, but Disney had the political power to prevent it for decades. What's changed is by trying to bring California values to Florida, Floridians have said, all right, you're a guest in our state. Maybe you don't deserve those special privileges anymore.
Sounds reasonable to me. What do you think?
Of course. I mean, I think Walt Disney himself would be rolling in his grave looking at this, seeing the people who are, the president, the CEO of Disney, talking about how they want to push these LGBTQ values on people. I think they were, why Disney became popular originally was because of the magic of it, because of the innocence that children were able to watch these movies and kind of live in this happily ever after world. It wasn't about the sexualization of young children. So I think the fact that Disney has chosen to take this view, it's not about Mickey Mouse, as Biden likes to say, we have a war on Mickey or something, but we don't. It's actually about the fact that they've chosen this radical viewpoint. And if they just moved away from politics and moved to what Disney was originally about, Walt Disney was a conservative, then I think that they would continue to have a lot of success. But, this is what happens when they choose to have a war with parents.
Danielle, good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
This week, U.S. Customs and Border Protection announced March border crossings, and the numbers were as bad as we all expected. I'll have the latest on the crisis at our southern border in the Buck Brief up next. I want to talk to you first about protecting your online data. A lot of companies promise your privacy is guaranteed. We know that's not true. That's why you need a new privacy and cybersecurity application tool called Secure. Spelled S-E-K-U-R. Secure is using proprietary encryption and offering secure instant messaging and email. With Secure, all of your communications based on servers and data centers hosted in Switzerland without using any of the big tech platforms. Look, privacy is a big issue. That's why you need Secure. They'll never mine your data. They never ask for your phone number. You can send emails to your doctor, banker, lawyer, or anyone with total confidence you're not being spied on by your internet provider or big tech. Secure is your solution to stop the constant theft of your digital identity. It costs only $5 for the messenger, only $10 for the messenger and email combination package. Go to secure.com and take back your privacy today. That's SEKUR.com. Use promo code BUCK for 25% off. We'll be right back with tonight's Buck Brief. Stay with us. As expected, the crisis on the southern border is getting worse. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the month of March saw the highest number of border crossings in 20 years. Meanwhile, Democrats are starting to sound the alarm bells on the growing crisis, with at least 10 Democratic lawmakers breaking ranks with the Biden administration, calling on the White House to reconsider its plan to lift Title 42. I'll dive into the numbers and the growing mutiny with the Democratic Party over their de facto open borders reality in tonight's Buck Brief. Got to understand, it's really all about the incentive structure. You've got to understand that the Democrats don't want to change that because illegal migrants, they think, are good for the long-term political power of the left. So they're not going to make it harder to come into this country illegally. They're not going to punish people for coming here in violation of our laws. They're certainly not going to step up enforcement of immigration laws in the interior. So what are they doing at the border? Well, I think we have a pretty clear sense of it. Here's a graph that shows the rise in monthly border encounters under Biden, with the latest in March of 2022 at 221,303 border crossings for the month. My friends, this is the size of this is a decent sized American city of illegal migrants coming over in 1 month. All right. And if you start to look at what's really going on here, year to date in 2022, who's actually coming across? Because we've been told so often that this is about families fleeing violence in Central America, let's say, or families who are fleeing MS-13. That's the Democrat-aligned corporate media story. Is that really what's going on? Is that what the data tells us? Well, year to date, check this out. Single adults at the southern border crossing in illegally, almost 900,000. Family units, 241,000 individuals part of family units. Unaccompanied minors, 2,211. Single minors, 74,088. So you can see that it's a lot of single adults coming across. So they just want to skip the immigration system. They don't want the legal immigration system. They just want to get into the United States. Family units, well, they've figured out ways to get around the system because family units have different rules applied to them by Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement that often make it much easier for them to stay in the country, and they're able to get around the realities of our supposed immigration system very easily. So how is this going to go when next month, I believe it's May the 18th, they're going to get rid of the Title 42 rule that allows for a lot of illegal migrants to be turned back? Well, here's a man from Honduras, an illegal migrant, saying that once Title 42 is lifted, it's going to help a lot. Watch.
On May 23rd, there's another proposal from North America to help other countries, Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. The president has taken that measure to help us and support us in this moment.
I think it's actually May 23rd, whatever. Next month in May is when they're getting rid of Title 42, about a month from now. Not going to be good, folks. If you believe in sovereignty, the rule of law, law and order, if you care about those things, it's going to be a very different world for our southern border going forward. And we got a midterm election coming up, too. So that's another aspect of this that we have to keep in mind. The Democrats are recognizing they are facing political consequences for this in a way that they just previously would not have. And that's why you have Democrats who are breaking ranks with the White House on Title 42. Senators Kelly, Sinema, Cuellar, Representative Cuellar, Senator Peters, Warnock, Coons, Hassan, Cortez, Manchin, and Tester. All saying, hey, look, this Title 42 thing is going to be a problem if you pull it away. We're going to have a big issue because these are Democrats who are going to have tight races. They know that. And they can't tell their constituents the Democrat Party is serious about border controls at all if they get rid of Title 42. Everyone's going to realize the Democrat Party is just kicking the doors to the country wide open. And that's going to cost some of these individuals probably their jobs or their seats, so to speak. So they don't like this. What is the Biden administration really going to do about it? And then there's also, on the political side of it, they recognize there are challenges. And then beyond that, there's, of course, the realities, the legal realities here. Let's understand the Biden administration. Joe Biden forgets what Title 42 is. He doesn't even really know, and he's absurd. But the Biden administration has fought back, at least publicly, verbally, rhetorically speaking, on masks on planes, saying, oh, they've got the CDC and little Fauci running around making noise about this. But how is it that you're going to pull away a pandemic protection at our border, but you're going to fight on the issue of masks on planes? Essentially, there's no pandemic, so we can kick the border open, no more Title 42. But masking on planes, got to do that because there's still a pandemic. There's a problem here. People who see reality, people who live in reality, understand this is an issue. And here's Democratic Representative Cuellar on exactly that.
Look, you can't say we have a pandemic or a public health issue here, but then say everything's fine at the border and then lift the Title 42, which is a health order. You just can't have both. And we know, like you all said a few minutes ago, 221,000 people this last month And certainly right now, the cartels are looking at Title 42. The moment they lift that, you're going to start seeing a lot more people coming across.
Of course. In fact, Border Patrol already has intelligence and sources and information that they go to that lets them know there's already massive migrant caravans forming in South America, Central America. They're just going to be making their way up to the U.S. because they understand that it's going to be easier to get in than ever before. And so they're going to be taking this as a massive opportunity. Democrats, it's amazing to me that they're going to watch this happen and effectively do nothing about it other than make it probably easier for the illegals to get into the country. I mean, here's Arizona Governor Doug Ducey was saying at the state level, at least, some border states are going to try to form some kind of defense against the current border crisis. Watch.
Today we're announcing the American Governor's Border Strike Force to do what the Biden administration refuses to do. The numbers are staggering, and I want to say this is not an immigration crisis. This is a border security crisis. Immigration policy is set in Washington, D.C., and Joe Biden has let the whole world know that our border is open.
Border is effectively open. You know what that means? It's not just illegal migrants who are enriching the heinous drug cartels by paying the human trafficking fees that are required by those transnational narco traffickers, but also the fentanyl that is pouring into the country across a wide open border that is poisoning Americans to the tune of over 100,000 a year right now. That's what's going on. It's awful. We'll see what the Democrats pull off. Elon Musk has announced that he's raised billions of dollars to purchase Twitter, but is the world's richest guy really the free speech savior that many conservatives are hoping? Townhall.com senior columnist Kurt Schlichter is going to give his take on this coming up here in a moment. I want to tell you about the newest sponsor to hold the line, the Silencer Shop. I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment. For many gun owners, using a suppressor is a must. They protect your hearing, they improve your accuracy, minimizes recoil. Suppressors are 100% legal in 43 states, so if you want to practice safe, accurate shooting, the best way to get your suppressor is through the Silencer Shop. They have a variety of suppressors starting at $365. My friends at Silencer Shop are the industry leaders for suppressors. They're a Texas-based company that excel at customer service. Each phone call, email, direct message, or comment is answered promptly. They treat you like family. Go check out the Silencer Shop today. Get more details at silencershop.com or on Instagram at instagram.com/silencershop. Shop now, silencershop.com for all your suppressor needs. Kurt Schlichter, up next. Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, has now lined up $46.5 billion to purchase Twitter. Over the past few months, the billionaire has expressed a desire to see the platform reduce its heavy-handed control of speech and its obvious censorship of conservative voices. Here he is during a recent TED Talk explaining how he believes Twitter should be run. Check this out.
It's just really important that people have both the reality and the perception that they are able to speak freely within the bounds of the law. So one of the things that I believe Twitter should do is open source the algorithm and make any changes to people's tweets. If they're emphasized or de-emphasized, that action should be made apparent so anyone can see that action has been taken. So there's no sort of behind-the-scenes manipulation, either algorithmically or manually.
All sounds pretty great, right? Well, free speech could be saved, huh? My next guest is a little more skeptical. Joining me now to discuss, senior columnist at townhall.com, lawyer and United States Army veteran, Kurt Schlichter. Kurt, what's going on, man?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Yeah, look, I welcome Elon Musk on the side of free speech. I'm not against it. I think it's a good thing, but it's not a sufficient thing. It's not enough that a rich guy comes along and says, "I'm going to buy your problem away," and then we can go, "Oh, great, free speech is saved," because that's not how this works at all. This is a good start, and it's driving them crazy. You can tell that it's a good start because it is driving them crazy, but it is not the end of the battle. And so many conservatives, would like to have a white knight come and save them, whether it's Ronald Reagan or Donald Trump or Elon Musk or whoever. And the simple fact is we're going to have to save ourselves. And it's going to take hard work, and we're not going to win every fight.
Kurt, you wrote an op-ed for Town Hall, where you're a columnist, senior columnist, I believe, stating you don't believe oligarchs have the power to save us, and you expressed that the Elon Musks and the Peter Thiels and the rest of the not left rich guys can be useful at times, but they're not conservative ideologues like us, and let's welcome the rich guys who want to help us out when they can, but not lose sight of the fact that this is our country and we're the ones responsible for taking it back. Expand on this a little bit for us. What do you, I mean, yeah, obviously Elon is not he's not a dogmatic conservative, not even close.
No.
I mean, I think he's kind of a free thinker, but he's a rational thinker, and that means these days you're almost certainly right-wing in a lot of your proclivities. Well, what do you mean here about these rich guys?
Well, you're right-wing in the sense that the left wing won't have you. I mean, you're rejected from the earth side. It doesn't leave you a wing. You will be wingless and crash into the ground. You become right wing by default, and that's fine. Look, default is great. It's like a minimum. It's there for a purpose. All you gotta do is get over it. I'm glad to have Elon Musk. It's nice, but he's not one of us. Like, if you came up to him and ran down a list of policy positions that we believe in conservatives, some he'd agree with, some he wouldn't. He's a big picture framework guy. He agrees with us about the framework of a liberal society, in the sense, there's free speech is important, civil rights are important, personal autonomy is important, limitations on the power of government are all important. And I'm willing to have that guy as an ally as far as it goes. It's nice to have some people who agree with us on the big premises, because unfortunately our liberal opponents don't agree with us on a lot of it. You've seen unbelievable attacks on the whole concept of free speech, not only from college professors. I mean, I expect nothing from them, but journalists who, I expect nothing from them either. But you're seeing these attacks on that concept, and the concept of democracy, which has changed to become, you got to agree with us. So when you say you're attacking democracy, it's like, well, yeah, because you've defined democracy as basically heeding your commands.
Oh, we're going to get to.
We're going to have on our side ish.
Yeah, no less than Obama himself. We'll get to this in a second. Is essentially making the case that free speech is a threat to democracy. This is what the left has really gone all the way here. We'll get to that in a minute, though, because just one more thing here on Elon Musk. You know how when you have all the right enemies, there's something good going on?
Yes.
I mean, you, me, right? The people that, we're great guys. Everyone likes us, except for evil commies who want to destroy the country. And MSNBC hates Elon Musk, so I'm going to say probably a good thing. Watch this.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. Elon Musk is a danger to Twitter and to freedom of speech. He has been known to say some of the most transphobic and homophobic things to his millions of followers. So creating an arena for hate, to me, that's what that sounds like, an opportunity for him to have no consequences, to have no flags, for people just to be able to do whatever it is and say whatever they want, with regardless of what kind of harm that it causes. So I think that this is something that folks really need to be paying attention to, because I think that Elon Musk buying Twitter or creating this quote unquote arena would be problematic.
Is it more that she doesn't know what free speech is, or that she's actively trying to change the definition of free speech?
I don't know if she's stupid, Buck, or she thinks we're stupid. Now, I'm kind of thinking it's both a little column A, a little column B, because I don't see her jumping in and grabbing a particle physics professorship at MIT anytime soon. But like I was saying, there are people out there who are against free speech. If you have free speech, people will be able to say whatever they want. Well, yes, you understand what free speech is, except you don't seem to know how to apply it in the real world. If Elon Musk is a danger to the power of people to censor others who dissent from them, they've correctly assessed him. He is a grave danger to fascists, Nazis, and communist pinkos. Yes, he's a real threat. They are correct, and with him on our side, I think I think we have a really good chance of preserving our freedom.
By the way, there's another version of this free speech is a threat, and it's free speech allows for disinformation, which can actually destroy democracies. And just so everyone knows, this is not some fringe belief on the left. This is Barack Obama making that case. Watch this.
Understand, it's not necessary for people to believe this information in order to weaken democratic institutions. You just have to flood a country's public square with enough raw sewage. You just have to raise enough questions, spread enough dirt, plant enough conspiracy theorizing that citizens no longer know what to believe. As Putin discovered leading up to the 2016 election, our own social media platforms are well designed to support such a mission, such a project.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. And it leads me to my, default position, which is buy guns and ammunition, because at some point we're going to have to defend our own freedom against people who manifestly hate it. And they do manifestly hate it. Even my dog hates it.
I was going to say, Fido is pro-freedom over there in the background.
All sorts of chaos going on here.
What do you got, by the way? What is the canine?
Oh, it's a little corgi thing.
A corgi, cute. The preferred companion of Queen Elizabeth herself. Anyway, Kurt, great to see you, my man.
I am conservative royalty.
Yes, good to see you. Thanks so much.
I've got my chaos going on here. That's what happens when you get me in the middle of the day and I stay home from work.
All good, man. We'll see you next time, Kurt. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Some so-called conservatives are getting pretty bitter about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' efforts to bring Disney back in line after to oppose the Parental Rights in Education bill. We'll have that story and more in Quick Hits. Stay with us. MSNBC's Matthew Dowd, former Republican, of course, has some thoughts about Jesus that you got to hear to believe. President Biden calls the environmental crisis an opportunity to do what Democrats want, because every crisis, misery, despair, oppression, all opportunities as far as Democrats see it, all things to be exploited to the maximum. We got those stories in Quick Hits. Let's get to it. This fellow, I almost hesitate to even put him on air on this show because his analysis is so bad and he's such a stupid and nasty person. But MSNBC pays this fellow, Mr. Dowd, formerly of the Bush-Cheney campaign, believe it or not, now an independent who goes on TV to trash Republicans all the time and says really stupid things. He says that conservatives today would call Jesus a woke groomer socialist. Watch.
The entire message of the Gospels of the Easter holidays was love one another. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If Jesus Christ was alive today, he would be called a groomer, he would be called woke, and he would be called a socialist if he was alive today.
Yeah, because Jesus would have been telling 4-year-olds that the boys are actually girls. Good job, Dowd. Well done. You're really nailing it there, because the groomer thing, you've got to be kidding me. Yes, that's right. He would have been trying to tell children that they're actually not their assigned gender at birth and that they're actually pansexual. But, Dowd has a really good handle on the Bible, apparently. A lot of pansexuality and transgender agenda stuff in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Yeah, good stuff. Well done. Biden says the environment is in crisis, but he also thinks that that's a good thing, I suppose, because it means that now we can force people to do things that otherwise realize are crazy. Why?
It matters. In my view, this crisis, as I said, is a genuine opportunity. An opportunity to do things we wanted to do and only now have become so apparent.
He also did the whole whispering thing, sort of whispering real loud about, hey, I think windmills look good. They actually don't. But you'll notice that Biden is really, it seems, at least for right now, being deployed. It's Earth Day, or is it Earth Day or Recycling Day? What is it, guys? It's Earth Day, right? Something like that. It's some kind of environmental day today, isn't it? Am I missing something, right? Probably Earth Day. Oh, we'll get some notices about recycling because that's going to save the planet. It's amazing, isn't it? It is Earth Day, right? What is it? Yeah, Earth Day. All right, that's what I'm saying. I was checking with the control room. It's Earth Day, so. Yeah, so yay, great. A lot of Green New Deal propaganda flying around now because, nobody wants toxic waste in their water. That's not our problem. They don't want us to use modern technology, basically. Get rid of the CO2 in the air. Out of their minds. And then there's other, this is the second kind of fake conservative or right winger or whatever. And look, full disclosure, I used to have him on radio sometimes. I don't have any personal issue with him. His work is kind of sad. Conservative, alleged conservative, all he does is bash his fellow conservatives. David French, he's out there now complaining about DeSantis slapping down Disney. His tweet is, I'd say the rights about face on free speech is surprising, but nothing shocks me anymore. I guess it's still wrong for San Antonio to target Chick-fil-A, but it's right for DeSantis to target Disney. I don't think that David understands here that the whole point is that they do it and they get away with it. And so the right is now saying, we're going to do it too. Or you can just bend the knee and let them keep spitting on you, which I suppose is what some people who are funded by left-wing billionaires, radicals, etc., who are big conservatives want. And then there's Brian Stelter. We're going to send you off for the weekend here with a great one. Brian Stelter on CNN Plus. Check this out.
Thank you. I'm going rogue for just a moment. I just got to say this. I got to say thank you to all the subscribers and supporters of this service of CNN Plus. This is a worthy venture. This was an outstanding experiment. And it was led by an amazing team of producers, directors, engineers, technicians, including the ones making this program happen right now. We still have some incredible guests and stories to tell, and we're grateful you're here to watch.
That's it for tonight's Hold the Line. The No Spin News with Bill O'Reilly is next. Field time.